The Galaxy S26 Ultra is a great phone, but where years ago the Ultra name meant best in class, these days it's sitting quite far behind a fair few of its competition in Europe, with this phone showing it up in a big way. So let's talk about why Samsung really needs to catch up. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas and I want to compare these two beasts, the Galaxy S26 Ultra and the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. Two high-end Android phones that seem to aim towards enthusiasts, but in two very different ways. It's guaranteed the Samsung is going to sell more units since it's available across the pond, where the Xiaomi isn't available in the US. But just because it's not bringing its fight to America, doesn't mean Samsung should be sat on its laurels. For instance, where Samsung has kept its Galaxy Ultra formula very much the same for the last few years now, companies like Xiaomi have been innovating. A 20% larger battery with 50% more power in its charging and double its wireless charging power. Larger sensors in almost every single camera, double the starting storage, more RAM, IP69 on top of the standard IP68 weather rating, and all for a very similar price. That sounds like the Xiaomi has Samsung's number, and in many respects for a large portion of tech enthusiasts, that will be enough to convince them. But in fairness, the Galaxy has some pretty useful tricks up its sleeve too. The privacy display feature, where you can shut off off-axis viewing angles, is pretty handy and very much unique to this model. The S Pen is ideal for those who want to jot down, doodle or sign items in a pinch. Dex is, though not super popular, actually really handy for a mobile computing platform for the right person. Who could forget that One UI is one of, if not the best, Android flavours, comfortably clearing Xiaomi's HyperOS and its versatility, and of course long-term update support as well, with that last part being particularly crucial when you consider the high price of these phones. I mean, if you're spending this much, you kind of want your phone to last as long as possible. By the way, if you enjoy what we do around here, then please do consider subscribing to help us hit our goal of 500,000. Thank you very much. Probably the biggest reason you'd be looking to buy the Xiaomi 17 Ultra over the Galaxy S26 Ultra lies in the camera department. The sensor sizes of the main and the telephoto cameras, they are wildly different. The Xiaomi spanks the Samsung's now very long in the tooth hardware. Yet despite the large hardware disparity, I almost feel like the processing is half the battle here, not the hardware. I left the Xiaomi in the Leica Authentic profile, which many online regard as the best mode for realistic looking photos. It's right there in the stock camera app, you don't have to do much fiddling. And side by side, the samples from the Galaxy, you can just see how little processing the photos look on the Xiaomi versus the Galaxy. Almost feels like Samsung's shots are cranked up to the maximum. Now you might actually prefer the hyper sharpened over-processed look from the Samsung, and look, power to you. But for me, the clear winner is the one with less artificial sharpening going on and more soul to the photos. Busy scenes with sticks and sharp contrast look far less busy on the Xiaomi, where they can look almost overdone with the Samsung in the name of sharpness. And the same is true when you pinch in. From a distance, Samsung produces far harder hitting sharpness photos, but look a little closer and it reveals that over-processing. I found that Samsung likes to lift its shadows to give you more light across the subject, which doesn't always work and often produces photos that don't quite look as realistic as you'd want. Of course, those bigger Xiaomi sensors also offer the shallower depth of field to give you naturally blurry foreground and background elements, and I found the nighttime imagery to look a lot more natural as well in terms of the high contrast, where it's clear that Samsung's processing is doing the heavy lifting here. What I will say is that where the Galaxy has a very good camera system, the Xiaomi has one of the very best camera systems, and that is the real difference here. It's a more photography first phone. Video is a little more mixed because I found that whilst both shoot fantastic Ultra HD 4K 120, 60p 30p, and of course 8K 30 if you want to compromise on other stuff for more raw megapixels, both shoot log and there's heaps of modes and settings to configure on both phones, but I found that the larger sensors on the Xiaomi offer that more big camera-like depth of field, which some might like. I found that Samsung's APV codec is just a bit more powerful when you go into the editing suite with log formats out of both of these phones. I just found that professional profile on the Samsung was a bit better. throw in the brilliant S26 Ultra horizon leveling feature, it's going to give you a bit more to think about when it comes to picking between these phones. Because both of them are big lumps, which makes them great for consuming content on top of whatever you've shot with those big cameras. Despite the rounder corners this year, the S26 Ultra is still a little more square than the 17 Ultra, and that's something I prefer. It's a smidge more usable, you get a bit more screen real estate. Both have small bezels and unobtrusive punch holes, both fingerprint scanners are reliable and fast, both sets of speakers won't beat a Bluetooth option but will get the job done nicely. They weigh almost the same as well. It's only really when you physically pick them up do you realise that Xiaomi makes itself feel a little bit more special, a bit more premium. The little Leica plaque, despite not being the Leica edition, is really nice. The starry green colourway, the absolutely phenomenal buttons on the side. They all come together to make you feel, well, as the user, like you're holding something more special. Hey, you might like that stonking great camera bump on the back, and fair enough, but the Galaxy is certainly the neater design if what you're after is something a bit more minimal. It might be a bit sterile too, but I'll let you discuss that in the comments. Speaking of, you're going to struggle to get both phones to die before the end of the day. Like, you would have to be idling at a high-end game all day, leaving the screen on to really get these things to zero. Especially on the Xiaomi, which for me just performed that bit better in longevity. Now, for most people who charge their phones overnight, you only need 1 day of usable battery life, and both of these phones are going to give you that absolutely no problem. However, if for whatever reason you're in a pinch, you need to top up your phone quickly, or you need to eke out more power from your phone, the 17 Ultra with its larger battery is your guide, because it is quite easily for me a 2-day phone. Privacy display on the Samsung obviously offers that very unique feature where you can cut off off-axis viewing angles, which for people who commute a lot or are in busy environments and want to keep the data on their screens a secret, is actually a really handy feature. But for many others, I don't see it actually being used all that much, since it does compromise quite heavily on the picture quality. I haven't gone into great detail into the specs and of the performance and the displays of these two, because from my personal experience, they are basically neck and neck, holding both of them back to back. It's like splitting hairs, to be totally honest. Whichever phone you choose to go with, you're going to enjoy the high-end displays and the raw performance. Whether you do the very basics on your phone, such as doom scrolling, you focus fully on photography, or even if you play Genshin Impact on your lunch break at work, or run a game of golf battle on your commute. The Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 in both of these performs brilliantly, regardless of the 12 gigs of RAM in the Samsung or the 16 in the Xiaomi. I just couldn't tell a difference using them side by side. Though it is worth also mentioning that the Xiaomi comes with double the storage at its base, which might be useful to you. Samsung's Galaxy S26 Ultra remains an incredibly complete package with a great suite of hardware and software features to keep you engaged and enjoying your phone. Even some seriously handy bits that you might lean on in a pinch. Whereas the Xiaomi 17 Ultra has the best camera I've ever used in a phone, backed by a large battery, super fast charging, and a feeling of exquisite quality. I know it's a cop-out, but I really cannot give a winner here. Though I can say the Samsung really needs to refresh its camera system because it is a little long in the tooth at the moment. If it wants to compete with anything coming out of China, there needs to be a change. Guys, which of these two would you pick? All reliable with some old hardware, but definitely the more complete experience, or the more beastly option with one of the best cameras, if not the best smartphone camera that exists? Or have you picked something completely different? Because I'd love to hear that in the comment section. Whilst you're down there, be sure to hit like if you enjoyed today's content and subscribe to never miss another upload on this YouTube channel. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.